This episode has been brought to you by Fornos Law Firm, devoted to optimizing your legal results at fornoslaw.com.
Welcome to Push Rim Life After Injury podcast for October 11th, 2012. Episode 17. Special guest, Paul Bowers. I'm Ray Pizarro.
I'm Boris Del Cid.
I'm Richard Bell.
We'd like to welcome our audience once again for being part of the show. Today we have a very special guest that came in studio, finally made it in. Paul Bowers, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys, and I'm so glad to be here, and I'm really glad that you guys do this.
Thanks, man. We that's what we do it for people that need it, you know, especially us being, you know, heard. It's hard to get resources and, you know, just relate. You know, spinal cord injuries are catastrophic for everyone, not only us, but families, you know, that go through it with us. And
you know what I love about what you do is that it's very accessible to everyone, especially people who can't necessarily get out as much, you know?
Or to a group.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's, I just think the form of it is perfect because you can watch it when you want, when you have time, you know. And
yeah, it's your leisure time and stuff like that. Yeah, we try to get it out there and we've been having a good response, you know. People tune in and check us out on, man, it's everywhere, you know, worldwide. Sometimes we get people from other countries and you know, definitely in the United States. So we appreciate all the feedback, you know, and all the positive, you know.
Let me let you know, I appreciate you guys doing this because, you know, one of the things about being in a wheelchair is that it can be isolating. And even just watching this, it feels good it feels like you're kind of
part of
hanging out with the fellas.
With the fellas, that's right. So, Paul, we're going to get into it and maybe let our audience know a little bit about yourself. You know, your injury, how you got hurt, and you know, things you're getting into and stuff like that. So I'll pass you the mic.
Well, I was injured 9 years ago. I was teaching, public school teacher. I had been bought a house, fixed it up. Everything was fixed. I was ready to go, and I had a motorcycle accident.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was tough, and with a lot of support from my family, luckily, you know. And some of the benefits of being, you know, employed by a school department that, you know, that I got, I've been able to sort of, you know, continue on and make a lot of adaptations to my house and, you know, with some equipment, I've been able to stay in my house, you know, because I live on a steep hill, and I thought, you know, this thing that I've been, you know, focused on fixing up this house, I'd have to abandoned, but you know, there's stuff out there that specifically like these power assist wheels that have really affected and enabled me to not have to
uproot your whole life.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was your level of injury?
T3, T4, but it's kind of funny because I think that's where maybe the bones were fractured, but you know, what affects us is where the nerve is scarred. And so I actually have no sensation on my arm, on one half of my arm, although I have full function. And I guess that's more something like
more like a C7, probably C7,
whatever. But it's also uneven, and it's just funny because every injury is so different,
right? You
know, and a person with a T3 is dealing with a whole different set of issues than a person with a C5 or a T10, you know. So it's something that I think a lot of people who don't know a lot about spinal cord injury don't get.
Well, see, you mentioned T3. I am a T3, T4, SCI, person. And I've seen you move around and, you know, do things that I can't do. I mean, your injury and my injury, although they're in the same level, they're different. And, most people probably do not understand that, spinal cord injuries are like snowflakes. They're individuals. Each and every one is different.
The funny thing about that is that it's so overwhelming that it's even more complex. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Yeah. But yeah, no, I think a lot of the stuff that I'm able to do is a result of the assistive technology that I've been lucky enough to be injured at a time when it's available. These power wheels, you know.
Yeah. We're living in really, good times to be injured these days.
And that's a really good point, because even though some of the stuff is available, I think we're still underserved in terms of technology, because our wheelchairs are only now catching up to what's been available on bicycles for a long time.
Yeah. And that's frustrating.
And it's a little bit crazy. You know, riding a bike is something you can choose to do or not choose to do. We're in chairs all the time. The technology should be available to us first, you know, or at least as soon as it's out there.
And another thing that's frustrating is that when you do find or see a chair that would be perfect for you, then you have to fight and try to get it covered.
Yeah.
Because these things are expensive. No less than what, $4,000-$5,000.
Yeah.
I don't know many people that have that laying around.
Yeah.
So.
Now, Paul, a lot of people don't know that you're a really active member of the community and are really out there trying to learn more about your particular injury and possible cures, research, and things like that sort. Now, could you share with us a little bit about what made you get into maybe going to a lot of conferences or reading a lot of different, possibilities of a cure one day?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a funny thing. I'm not someone who even really keeps up as much as I feel like I should.
Right.
With the things that are coming out all the time, especially if you get like a Google alert about spinal cord injury. You can get updates about all kinds of research projects that are going on, things that make it sound like there might be a cure right around the corner, which can be a little bit tough if you're sort of expecting, waiting, hoping, because we've got such a struggle just to sort of get back to a life that we can, you know, manage, you know, I mean, especially if you live alone or if you're, you know, whatever. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today was, getting involved or not in some of the, keeping up with some of the research that's out there. There's a conference coming up that I wanted to mention where instead of having to try and do all the research yourself, all the leading scientists doing the sort of cutting edge research are going to be here in Irvine, California.
When is that?
It's November 1st and 2nd and 3rd.
At UCI?
UCI. It's called Working to Walk. The group that puts it on is called Unite to Fight Paralysis. And they're very focused on research for a cure. And they're not sort of including things like assistive technology because they don't want to get sort of distracted from the goal, because like with any, you know, patient group, there's a lot of obstacles. I mean, spinal cord injury is just, it's incredible that we're even able to live at a time when there may be, you know, whatever advances that make it possible. But, there's so much that we have to deal with getting back to life, participating in sports, you know, anyway, this conference is specifically focused on bringing together all the scientists so that not only can they explain to us where they're at, where the science is at, but so that they can work with each other. And actually, one of the things that I think that we need to realize is that they need us to give them the backing and leverage so that they can work and say, you know, here's a population of people that our work is, you know, for. And so I'm kind of like, I don't want to promote or advocate people to do something. Everybody should do what they want to do. But as a community, I do think that we need to get from the stage of how do we start to come together and swing some of our weight around, you know, cause
numbers, right. And numbers, the way people think, and education too, because that's when you're going to find out, you know, how the stuff works and things like that, right?
And nowadays with the whole healthcare thing, it's changing from, you know, the healthcare system's going to do for you to you have to advocate for yourself.
We do have a very powerful group of people if we get them together. The ADA as an act alone, has given, people with disabilities, a very, very powerful arm, if you will, to reach out in all directions. And I think part of that would be, getting together and not necessarily demanding, but, asking and being a little more assertive about results.
Absolutely.
on research. Are you going to be there?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How can anyone, that want to attend that go to that? Can you give us that information?
Absolutely. There's the Unite to Fight Paralysis website. You could just type that in Google,
mm-hmm.
and they'll have on the very front prominently displayed, information about the conference.
Unite to Fight
and
Paralysis.
It's actually Unite spelled with the number 2.
Oh, okay.
Fight Paralysis. I have it here, and I can.
Can we feature that website as our one, if not, the one website for this podcast?
Absolutely.
So, is there a cost to attend?
There is a cost, but there's also a waiver if you can't afford it.
Okay.
Good to know. Yeah.
What is the cost if you can?
I think for both days it's $150.
Okay.
But I mean, these are the thing that's not cheap.
No.
But the thing to realize is that these are actually the leading folks from all over the world.
Yes.
Showing up to present their exciting, crazy cutting edge research.
Mm-hmm. I think
Harvard, Reeve Irvine, China.
On the first, so it starts the 1st through the 3rd?
Yeah, I mean the first and the 2nd are when you get to hear the presentations. The 3rd is a day where you can visit the labs at the Reeves Irvine Research Center.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not actually positive about the exact days, and maybe that there's a check-in day or arrival day, but there's places to stay.
I would say, for those individuals who can make it, try and make it. I'm going to try to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that money is going to be also reverted into, the Unite to Fight front.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like it's going to go,
It's definitely not going in anyone's pocket. People who put this on work more than full time on a volunteer basis to get this together. That was started by a couple of women who have kids with spinal cord injuries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, they're not, definitely not making money, but, maybe I should just read a little something here.
Sure. From their website.
The website, by the way, it's www.u2fp.org.
Thank you.
And I like to let our audience know that Paul has been our research guy. He reads and is informed
and
about what the research is and goes to conferences and all that. So when you look on our website and you see Paul Bowers' picture, you'll see that there are quite a bit of articles and things that he posts. So his invitation for today's podcast is very important because we are now trying to get some of that research to reach all of our audience, people from Pushrim and also anyone else that is listening or watching this on YouTube. So
thank you.
Go ahead.
I wanted to also mention to you guys that I've fallen off a little bit in my duties as the research guy because I've been struggling with a lot of health issues myself that have been real difficult. But from a basic level, I know a lot of people probably have been a little bit disappointed that things with stem cells and whatnot haven't made more of more progress faster. Yeah. But there are other things going on that are amazing. Like there are these things where they're researching how certain physical things that we have in our bodies that tell our bodies as young people to grow have little things that tell our bodies, okay, now you're grown, stop growing. And
right.
And there are scientists who have like figured out, well, if you can stop that thing from telling you to stop growing, you can actually regrow axons through a spinal cord injury, something that's never been done before.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some of this research that we'll be hearing about.
I recently, my cousin was telling me about these two doctors. I think one in Japan and one, elsewhere. I can't remember where. They, have come up with a technique where they can extract some of your spinal cord nervous tissue and, revert it back to a, stem cell, state where they can re-inject it. And so.
Well, you know what's funny about that is that there's research going on all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah. All over the world, yeah.
And there are things about the United States regulations that make it sort of slower.
Yeah.
So that maybe, because like with AIDS and just in general, the whole advocacy group AIDS, there's a documentary out now about how the AIDS community, like what we need to do, got together and really made noise. And I mean, look what they've done, you know. But there are things about the FDA, about the way that laws are, that are understandable, but that slow the pace of research and prevent people from doing combinations of therapies, which is what ended up being so successful with AIDS. And that's what's so great when you go to these conferences, is that you hear people talking about not just what's the latest research, but what are the things that need to change so that the latest research can go faster, people can work in combination. Mm-hmm. What can we do as members of the community to make that happen? Because that stuff's not going to happen without stories like ours to make them understand why it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, see, go ahead. Sorry, there's been many autologous type of research that's been thrown out there. Like you were mentioned, autologous meaning coming from the person's own nervous system. Like last year around this time, a group from Vancouver reported on what it's called radial glial cells, and that's one of those things that, together with the ones that had been done through the olfactory nerve, cells that are, the olfactory nerve actually has been proven to be one of the only tissues of the central nervous system that regenerates itself. So isolating stem cell like, cells or the property to regenerate is one of those things. But this one in particular, like the radial glial cells, that was, talked about last year. There's also, research that have shown that, cells this is from an Italian, and Spanish, group, of cells taken from, spinal cord segments of specifically being the how do we call them? The meninges. And the meninges are also, part of what envelopes the spinal cord and actually specifically anchor the spinal cord to the spinal column. So, from your nose, from the meninges, from the radial glial cells, there are quite a bit of research out there. But wrapping it all back to what you were saying, Paul, is, grouping all these things, is important. The advancement of the research depends on, in my opinion, and I concur with what you say, the FDA in the United States is a bit restrictive. Yeah. And not only that, but we were given a severe blow, to research on the previous administration when, research, federal monies were taken away, to back up federal research.
Yeah. And all of those techniques you mentioned also eliminate the roadblock of embryonic stem cells, which was the catalyst for them removing funds from research to help us.
Well, what I find to be really a bad thing, in my opinion, without getting political, is that introducing someone's religious belief to influence result of things. It's a bad thing, and that's my opinion. Not necessarily everyone else's here.
Well,
but
thanks for getting political.
Yeah,
no, it's not political.
No, it's good to get detailed and technical. It's probably over a lot of people's heads, but if you do research and then all these words actually make sense to you,
right.
You know, when you get.
Well, the political part was that the previous administration, we know who that is, stopped it. Yeah. And the present administration immediately upon taking command reinstated that. So that is political, and it's unfortunate because it is reality, and it has set us back 20 years. Thank you very much.
You know what's funny, Ray, before you?
Yeah.
One of the other good things about this conference is that the last year was held in Washington, D.C. Everybody was given an assignment to find out who your rep is,
right,
and make an appointment to visit them in their office and Congress.
Wow.
So, it's just very well organized, very focused on getting us mobilized. I'm actually not in any, if you want to go a little long, I'm okay with it. But
proactive. Yeah. No, yeah, actually we're a little bit limited on our cameras and stuff we have here, not able to record a little longer, but we're definitely going to have another segment, maybe a part 2 and talk more in-depth stuff, because it's just so much we can talk about and get into that is good information for our audience. So
I'm actually really more interested personally in some of the assistive technologies, that can make our lives so much more, like we can do so much more.
So we're going to bring you back for that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot less restriction on assistive technology.
Yes, true.
Yes.
As you may have seen some of the apparatus that's been
I'm
brought
excited.
up lately.
I hope that they continue to make these exoskeletons.
Yes,
exactly what I was had in mind.
Better. And wouldn't that be cool?
Lighter, mobile, made out of carbon fiber and titanium, and bringing it more easier to use. So in wrapping, dude, we want to definitely thank you, Paul, for coming in. I know we cut a little short, but we're going to have you back again. Anywhere people could find you or get connected with you?
Anybody, please call me. I'm on Facebook, Paul Bowers. On my email is paulagb1@yahoo.com.
Cool. And also on Pushrim.
My favorite, Pushrim. This is where it all needs to come together.
That's right.
And I want to thank you guys for doing this.
Anytime.
And I want to just mention Club Pushrim is where you can find our YouTube channel and subscribe and join the conversation.
And on our social media on pushrim.com.
And also, you guys with iTunes, download us. We're on iTunes. Do a search for Pushrim and download us to your device and take us on the go. Once again, thanks, Paul, for being with us, and we'll catch all you guys on our next episode. Thanks a lot. Peace out.
See ya.
Right on.
My favorite part.